started.
It's started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our this episode of Grief Relief Reason. And I'm a grief coach. And tonight's episode, we're going to talk about why it's important to heal. Um, and this may seem obvious, but we all want to end the pain that we feel. And I want to make the distinction between getting through grief and healing grief. So why is that important? Most of us get through grief in the sense that we carry on with our lives after a major loss. Some of us don't get through it very well, but I talked about this last week. If the relationship or the situation that you're in is complex, the loss is really complex, um, you know, you may have layers of grief. Most of us think that if we're getting on with our lives, that that's the best we can do. So why is that not enough? It's not enough because it doesn't heal you, especially if you have unresolved grief from past losses. Remember, in one of my previous episodes, I talked about grief can pile up. And as we get older and we have more losses in our lives, we can have several layers of grief and different types of grief. And these layers can really start to weigh on us. So how do I know all this? Well, think about the last big loss you had in your life. It doesn't have to be a death. It can be a health issue, a divorce or separation, loss of a job or a career, a loss of a coworker or a boss that you really connected with. It can be relocating a place that you really loved. It can be changing careers. It can be missing out on an opportunity. It can be financial loss. It can be history of physical or emotional abuse. It can be multiple miscarriages. It can be many, many, many things. How many of us have not experienced some version of these types of losses? When you think about the most recent loss you've had, what feelings come up for you? Do you recognize this loss as grief? How did you deal with it? How did you move on with your life? Are you satisfied with the way you got through it? Do you still feel the emotional impact of the loss? Are you able to talk about it easily? What did you learn from it? How did it help you deal with grief and loss? The way you answer these questions can reveal a lot about how you deal with grief and loss or not deal with it. Unresolved grief can manifest in a variety of ways. We know this. If you've lost a loved one, it may be hard to talk about the relationship even after a significant amount of time has passed. You may idealize the relationship, only talking about the person in positive terms. You may have developed an irritable temper or an irritable personality. You might have developed a temper. You may become easily upset or moody. You may have developed some health issues. You may have some mental health issues, such as anxiety and or depression. You may have insomnia, changes in personality, or you may notice more subtle changes in yourself, I used to be easygoing, for example. I used to laugh a lot more. I used to enjoy this or that, but I don't anymore. Maybe you're out of touch with how you feel. It's not having emotions that make us sick, actually. It's suppressing or ignoring them that can make us sick. Remember, I've said that grief changes you, and when you heal grief, you become reassembled. You redefine what's important in your life very often. You pursue different goals. You may have a new perspective. You may be able to express yourself more easily. You become wiser. You become more thoughtful sometimes, and often have more empathy and compassion for others because you now have access to all of your feelings and you've been through something that really connects you to the pain that other people may be experiencing. These are positive and progressive changes that reflect the inner work of healing. Unresolved grief can change you too, as I've just mentioned, but the outcome is not so positive. And over time, as we get older and have more losses in our lives and more unresolved grief, we could really be suffering, and sometimes we don't even know it. We can be insensitive to these changes in ourselves for a variety of reasons. Sometimes others can see it, but we can't. It can be a blind spot. And oftentimes we minimize our grief and our loss. We can say, for example, well, it's just life. It happens to everyone. There's nothing you can do about it. Or I don't think about it anymore. I have to get on with my life. There's no point in dwelling on the past. Have you said any of these things to yourself? My point here is that we carry the suffering of the loss with us, and it changes us in ways we're not really happy about, but we can feel helpless to do anything about it. We don't make the connection between how we feel and the losses we've experienced. There can be a disconnect in our conscious awareness. And this is really reinforced because of the culture we live in that doesn't recognize grief and loss. So, how can we start to focus on healing? We have to first recognize what's happening. Sometimes someone else will let us know that we've changed or something about us is different. Sometimes we're in so much pain, we're forced to deal with it, and we realize something in our lives just isn't working. Or the usual coping mechanisms don't seem to have the same effect. What happens when we connect to the source of the pain can be overwhelming, and we often try to avoid feeling it. Nobody wants to be in pain. Here's what I've learned. You have to acknowledge that you're in pain. You cannot heal what you cannot feel. You have to understand the source of your pain. If you've been in the habit of not acknowledging your pain, you may need to go back. There may be layers, and you may have to unpack it layer by layer. Once you understand the source, you can begin to transform. You can begin to heal. The healing process looks different for different people. Remember, grief is unique to every individual, and every individual's grief is unique. What I want to offer you here is hope. It doesn't last forever, and you can get through it. Here's some guidelines. Most everyone benefits from spending time with themselves in some form of meditation. Meditation can take the form of being by yourself in contemplation. It can also be a moving meditation. And that means that it can involve being by yourself in a special place that you love being in. As long as you're alone and as long as you're focused on your grief or your pain, you're focusing on it. What matters is this state of being in this kind of emptiness. You want to try and create this sense of emptiness within yourself with no distractions. With practice, you come to a point of this stillness that you feel in your heart. And it's very compelling to be in this state of absolute stillness, where you have no distractions, you have no worries, you have no fears, you have no to-do lists. Your brain isn't pinging back and forth with all the worries and things that you need to be doing. You're just completely calm. In my experience, this is a very important piece for healing. You need to connect to yourself and your loss. And meditation is the quickest way that I know to be able to do that. You need to be you, just you, without all the props in your life that support the image of yourself. And this includes people. That's why I'm saying you need to be alone. Because people support your self-image. Many of our friends and family support our self-image. Take a moment to reflect on that. What are your props that distract you from experiencing your sense of loss? Really connect, if you can, with the feelings associated with the loss you've recently had. Try not to censor your feelings. Whatever you feel is what's right for you. There's just no wrong feelings. For people who are unaccustomed to connecting with their feelings, this can be quite challenging. But it's necessary to know how you feel if you're going to heal. You have to be honest with yourself. And once you're connected to the pain, you can start to heal it. This may sound simple, and it is. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just not easy. One of the paradoxes of grief, you can only heal once you're connected to your pain. For many of us, this is the thing we've been avoiding, sometimes for years, and why it can be very difficult to do this work without professional help. Sometimes what we think we are grieving is only part of a bigger picture. Remember I said grief has layers. In my own experience, I couldn't do it without help. My issue was not that I couldn't connect with the pain, but I couldn't disconnect from it, and I couldn't move forward. I got stuck in the pain. It just kept going around and around and around and wasn't getting any better. So I needed absolutely acknowledging that I was in pain, but I also had to be honest with myself. I needed to take action to relieve my pain. I had to take action to move forward, to heal from the pain. And that's where I needed help, because I really didn't know how to do that. So I learned how to transform my pain. And I also will tell you that one of the reasons I'm so passionate about grief relief is that I know that you can do it too. There's nothing special about me or my grief journey. what I'm able to offer you is hope that you can get through it too and embrace a new beginning. Pain does not last forever. So let's practice this. Let's just get into this meditation mode that we've been doing for the last number of weeks, where you sit up straight and you focus on your breathing with your back straight away from the chair and feet planted firmly on the floor. And just breathe in and out, belly breathing in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. And just ask yourself, as you're in this state, where are you emotionally? What are you feeling? Just spend a few moments just connecting with what you're feeling right now. It can take a few minutes to really connect with yourself. If you're unsure where you are or what you're feeling, that's perfect. Stay in the uncertainty. Connect with the feeling of being uncertain. What does that feel like? If you know where you are in your grieving process and how you feel, how would you describe it? Just describe it to yourself, what it feels like to be where you are. Get clear about where you are in the grieving process. What are you connected to? Are you connected to pain, to sadness, to fear, to anxiety, to anger, confusion? Be where you are. Breathe into that feeling. Let's just spend a few minutes experiencing this feeling of being here right now and connecting to whatever it is that you feel. Feel your body start to relax as you focus on your breath and breathe in deeply into your belly. Let your thoughts just fly out of your head as quickly as they come in, and come back to your breath. Take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. We've only spent a couple of minutes connecting with how we feel, connecting with our breathing, looking for this sense of stillness. So just check in with yourself. How do you feel right now? And just make note of how you feel after just a couple of minutes of connecting with yourself. This is a practice, and I recommend that you practice every day, because with practice, it gets easier. And with practice, you're able to control your thinking, and your thoughts will start to get easier to control. You will have better access to your feelings. And eventually, this feeling of stillness will come to you. And it is an incredible experience to have. It comes with practice. So there are many other tools that are available to help you to heal. This is just one of them. What I'm focusing on is creating a segment like I did in November, where I'm going to do a Zoom call. And on Zoom, it's more interactive. So when people are on the call, they can actually participate and ask questions and make comments and that. And I think that would be really beneficial, because what I'd like to talk about is how I healed my grief. So I will be definitely posting to you when I have this set up. If there's anyone that's tuned in that doesn't, whose email address I don't have, then please send it to me at bfriesen, Friesen 986 at gmail.com, and I will make sure that you're on the Zoom list when I send it out. So I'm going to end there. Thank you so much for attending. You don't want to miss the Zoom call. It can really transform your life. And we will talk more in depth about how to heal grief. Please make any comments in the chat. I'll look at all of them and respond. And I will say goodnight to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Take care, everyone.